Hello everyone and welcome to Making D&D. Today I'm going to be making a magical item from Icewind Dale, Realm of the Frostmaiden. I'm going to be making the Scroll of Tarrasque Summoning. Let's get started. If you have been a player waiting for this book, you know how much the internet exploded when a teaser for this item was announced. Some thought it was a joke, others looked on in horror because they knew what a Tarrasque was. When the book was released, I was excited to get my hands on it because I wanted to learn more about this item. I will admit that my interest was partially because I wanted to know more about an item that could literally end the lives of everyone, all your player characters for the end of time once used in a specific game. Based off its description, we know very little about this scroll. We have a description of what it does, we know what the Tarrasque is, and we know where you can find it in this world. For those who don't know, a Tarrasque is a gargantuan monstrosity titan. Honestly, it kind of looks like a T-Rex in the hind legs, Velociraptor's front claws, but longer, a bunch of horns running from its head to its extremely long tail, and honestly so many teeth that I think you would start crying without noticing it if you saw it in real life. Now, for all of those who don't want spoilers about its location in the written game, skip ahead about 20 seconds. For all those who stayed, you can find this scroll in Larthus' study with his spellbook titled The Incantations of Larthus, among other items and rubbish. We don't know if Larthus made the scroll, and we really don't have any visuals about what the scroll should look like, so let's make some choices. First step is really to create the ends, the rods that create the scroll. So I went to my local hardware store and I found these awesome table legs, but you can use whatever finials. I really liked the fact that they had a screw base on them so that I can actually drill a hole in my dowel and screw it in to tighten it and then glue to set. I did pick up a set of poplar dowels. These just happen to be the right size and I like the look of them. I am going to be using wood glue, and with that I will be using these gloves because I don't want my hands to turn yellow with using the glue. I have drill bits and I have a drill to actually insert these finials, table legs, to the tops of each of the dowels. I only will be using 2 dowels and 2 finials, one on each side, so that it can unroll from the center. And then the last part is going to be a wood stain that we will do on all these pieces once they are assembled and the glue is dry. So first step when drilling holes into the ends of dowels is to mark out where your center point is. Now, you'll notice that I'm going to be using several different drill bits in sizes increasing, starting first with the littlest one and then going up. I might use a third one. This is to ensure that the wood doesn't split as you're drilling through it, so that you're not putting a lot of pressure. The other big thing is that you want to pick a drill bit that's just a little bit smaller than your piece. Why? So that it does have a tight, snug fit in your dowel, and the glue will really help it keep it together for a long-lasting bond. Alright, so now we're going to go and age our paper. So I've selected this paper that I had in my stock. It's very like mixed media parchment-y. It's got a little bit of crinkles and stuff. I'm actually going to do 2. But I'm going to just show you one for right now. So when you're aging parchment, especially when I have been doing it for theater previously, I tend to use either instant coffee, espresso, or tea to dye it the color that we're looking for to age it. And this is the process that I normally use. So what I'll do is I will curl it up the way I want it to, provide it a little bit of bumps and bruises as it would have been on the actual scroll itself. Then lay it out. The reason I didn't cut this paper to size or to fit on the scroll yet is I want kind of a whole piece of paper to work with. So as soon as you're done with that, what you do is I'm just gonna pour this, I made espresso, brewed espresso, and then put some water in it and then wait for it to cool. I'm going to soak this paper in it using a paper towel to kind of dab all the excess or push all the excess off of it. And then I'm actually going to use this baking sheet to put it in the oven to heat it up on 200 degrees Fahrenheit for about 5 minutes. The goal is that it crisps up the paper and then it dries out the paper. So we're gonna try it first on this paper, probably with a little less coffee to water, and then we're gonna try a little bit darker on the second one. So now that we're back and we have our stained scroll ends as well as our paper, let's talk about something that I did. So I took the 2 tests of paper and I did a second round because they weren't as dark as I wanted them to be. So I darkened them up on both sides. They still kind of smell like coffee a little bit, which is a great smell. But these ends don't have a lot of grime that I want them to have. I want this to look like the scroll has been in existence for quite some time. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just use the acrylic that I have. I have the Liquitex Basics and I'm just gonna use it to get into the crevices to give the scroll ends more character. Next steps on paper is I'm gonna actually select one of them and draw the scroll idea onto it, black ink it, and then I have a special surprise which I think would be really fun for my players to use in the game. So when doing any sort of aging, I tend to use a couple of different colors. Black is great, but you can only get so much definition. I really like using blue for shadows. If you've seen any of my work, you probably know that, as well as green can kind of create a griminess to it, which I'm a big fan of. So I've already kind of put out some paint and I'm just gonna go through, start with one and go from there. Alright, now that we have aged the scroll ends as well as doubly aged our paper so it looks really nice, I'm going to draw out exactly what is going to be on the scroll. Now I did take the awesome visuals of the Tarrasque to put onto this scroll, so I'll show you the cool things that I have set up to do on this scroll. So my concept for what's going to be drawn on this scroll is actually the two, just Tarrasque, its tail. If you look at the research, I really liked the tail scaling the outside. I thought that was awesome. It's two arms almost coming out of a portal, another arm ripping open the portal that the Tarrasque is coming through. Now you can see that I did use black ink and blue ink, and that is for a specific reason. I purchased some of this Blacklight bulletproof invisible ink. So what I am going to do is when all the blue is in this invisible ink, under white light, it'll be completely transparent, but under black light, you'll be able to see and read, and to see the actual Tarrasque and read what the scroll says. And this is something that always happens when I'm drawing. Some of the stuff I don't like, so I do a second pass at it. So I didn't really like the shape of these claws. I didn't think they matched fully the research image. So what I did was I redrew them so that when I actually draw them for the second time, they'll look more like the Tarrasque is actually ripping through and opening that portal. I used my light screen to transfer the black part of this drawing onto our paper. I also have, my table is pinnable, so I used my pins to put my research and inspiration because I really want to get that detail in. So based off of that, I'm just gonna start drawing. I'm really excited about it, so let's get going. I am using a pen with black ink for the base and then using the invisible ink for the magical part. Next part is to put all of the blue invisible ink options onto this. I've already started going through and putting some, so you can see when the black light comes, some of these lines glow, which is exactly what we're going for. I've only done a couple of them, so I'm going to go through and do a lot of them. Now what I will say is that because it is invisible, you don't want to push too hard as you're drawing. Just know that the ink is going or it's not going, and then check it with the black light. So I'm gonna speed up this video as I'm drawing so you can see me double checking everything that I've created and put in as I go through. Alright, so to put the center Tarrasques as well as the words in the center, I'm going to be using my light pad underneath to then work. I'm going to do the Tarrasque face first and then go from there. Last couple of steps, what I did was I took the extra paper, cut it in half, and glued it to this paper so we can get an extra long run of the scroll so that it looks like there's more scroll on our ends. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach these ends into attach the paper onto these scroll ends using some hot glue to ensure that they stay. And then the scroll will be done. You can always age it a little bit if you want, you know, that aged look on the ends. That is always an option. And you can always do more. I would suggest using some acrylic paint to do those textures if that is of interest. But at the end of the day, it's your scroll. You do what you think looks the best. Now, like with the ending of every project, especially with the scroll, you might want to figure out how to keep it together or hold it together if it's not going to be laying out ready to go. My suggestion is a beautiful tie. This is a tie, a piece of trim that I'm using on another project, for a sewing project. But I mean, it's gorgeous and beautiful. If I hadn't have spent so much money on it, you know, maybe I would use it for this project. But you can always find really cool trims to use as tie arounds, or even just twine can look really cool. So that would be like the next step, you know, if you wanted to do that. Now that we have made our very own Scroll of Tarrasque Summoning, I want to hear from you guys in the comments. If you were given the option to use this scroll in a D&D game, would you use it? Now, as always, if you want to know any of the pieces that I used to make this scroll that you saw in this video, check in the description box and you can get a link to my website where you can see all the products that I used. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you liked this video, and as always, happy making!